The riffs are too repetitive, the lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides and the cover art's a mess. There's so much here to tear apart. Listen to it for a week, now that week has passed. It's Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Garrett.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Why I Hate This Album. I am one of your hosts, Garrett Harvey. With me as always, co-host extraordinaire, lemon to my mathau, Timothy Richardson. Tim, how you doing, buddy?
I am very confused.
Why is that?
I looked through the dossier 10, 20 times. Where is Vanilla Ice, Garrett?
This has been an issue for you in the last couple of weeks. We never should have done these back-to-back. Your loose grasp of the English language has led to a number of hours wasted listening to the wrong artist in the wrong week. Tim, perhaps it is I who should tell the listener what album we listened to this week. We listened to Girl You Know It's True, Milli Vanilli's American debut album, released March 7th, 1989. Tim, let me ask you, do you hate this album?
I don't think so, but I am very open to hating it. I don't really understand what's going on here, so there's a lot of weird on this album. There's a lot of boring on this album. Until I kind of put it together, I can't say that I hate it.
The only thing holding you back from hating it is that you just don't fully understand what you're experiencing?
I would say that's accurate. But what about you, Garrett? Do you hate this?
Oh boy, Tim. You know, I have got to say, I do not hate this.
You love this and have loved it since 1989.
I might not love it.
Yeah, at your high school graduation, they played this in 1989, and ever since then, you've had a personal, emotional connection to it. The 30 years since you have graduated from high school, you have loved this album.
No, I was 6 years old when this came out.
Doesn't add up?
It does. Full disclosure, Tim, I used to love this. Well, I can't really call it an album because for me it was a cassette. I really loved this cassette, and I inherited that cassette, and I don't want to get into it just yet, but I have to say, this week, Tim, you are going to have to talk me down from borderline enjoying this album.
I will do my best.
It shouldn't be too hard.
And there's nothing I do better.
That's true. You suck the enjoyment out of almost anything I find in life.
Yep.
So, Tim, is this the first time your Milli has been vanillied?
I recognize some of these songs, but I would never have been able to tell you these were by Milli Vanilli, and this entire thing was well before my time, so this is basically the first time I've listened to this.
Wow. This might be, well, okay, so, Tim, this is my Rage Against the Machine.
I hope you mean that both in your history with it as well as your impression of the music in general. This is what turned you into a young radical at the tender young age of 18. Yeah.
Not exactly.
All of that adds up.
No. What I mean
you were militarized. You became a militant to the tune of Milli Vanilli's Girl, You Know It's True.
Blame it on the rain. Yeah, just gets my blood boiling. No, not exactly. What I mean to say is that when this album came out, I full on loved it. I owned it, though I didn't buy it because I was 6, and you have never heard it. So I am coming from a place of severe nostalgia. Those years, Tim, before 8, really the sweet spot was 5 to 8. After the really unpleasantness of my early childhood and before the truly unpleasantness of my later adult life, that 5 to 8 range was pretty sweet. So I'm going to have to cut through a very thick layer of nostalgia on this episode. Had an older sister, so she owned the cassette, and when the unpleasantness struck, and we'll get into that in a moment, she immediately, like the rest of the world, hated this band, and that's when 6-year-old Garrett really cashed in. I played this baby on repeat. So I knew a lot of the songs, which as a child I thought I didn't understand because they were about adult things. Now as an adult, I think I don't understand because they are not about anything. I loved this band. I loved the music videos. I thought their bike shorts were cool. I don't know if you have a history with bike shorts, but they were all the rage in the late 80s and early 90s. So
the big t-shirt with the bike shorts and there's neon colors and nope, no history with that.
Seem to know a lot about it though.
Oh yeah, again, ever since the Ed Sheeran episode, I have been spending a lot of my time on BuzzFeed, and they do a lot of like early 90s retrospectives, so
Gotcha.
Like
Yeah, so that was kind of my jam. Like every young boy, I would throw that into my my Walkman and walk around and play with frogs and worms and such while I listened to Baby Don't Forget My Number. All of that's true.
You know what? I will say this. I often mention the horrific adult you've become, the instability, delusions, borderline insanity. I think you turned out pretty good, having heard
That's
this.
what I've been saying.
I mean, you're still horribly adjusted, but...
What are you talking about?
It could have been a lot worse given this frog Milli Vanilli situation.
You never played with frogs?
Oh, no, I played with frogs. I just didn't have this soundtrack.
What were you listening to?
Rage Against the Machine.
Awesome. Okay, Tib, you have a very brief surface understanding, as I suspect a lot of our listeners do, of the band, and I lived through the experiences that we're about to talk about. So let's not waste another moment. Walk us through how Milli and Vanilli became the worldwide sensation that we all remember to this day.
This story really starts with German songwriter and producer Frank Farian, the mastermind behind all of this. He started out with the band Boney M, then started a supergroup called Far Corporation with a bunch of guys from Toto, weirdly. They were notable for their 1985 cover of Stairway to Heaven, and then Frank produced some music for Meatloaf in '86, and then came the Milli Vanilli. He met Fabrice Morvan and Robert Pilatus. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah,
Pilatus. That sounds right.
Pilatus? It's Pilatus.
Yeah, Pilatus. All right. He founded that with Fab and Rob in 1988. Sort of.
Yeah, that's not quite how it went down, but also exactly what happened.
Yes. Fab was born to Caribbean parents in France, and then he moved to Germany at 18 to become a dancer and a model, as you do, and met Rob in a Munich nightclub.
Hey there, Frenchman. You like to lip sync and dance around in bike shorts? Yeah, me too. We should get together and maybe find some other man who has a bunch of tracks already recorded. Yeah. You want to see if we can dance together? All right, let's do this. What happened? How do you approach a stranger?
So the way that it happened in my head, Rob is dancing, and just by the sheer force of his dancing, it translates into Fab, who begins dancing in sync with him, and they just, like magnets, are slowly drawn to each other across the club until they're dancing right in front of each other. Then simultaneously they both say, do you want to start a band together? And, well, probably in German. Well, one's in German, one's in French, obviously.
Right, so they overcame their difference in language by communicating through the language of dance.
That's right.
That's probably 100% how it happened.
Rob was born in Munich, but he spent the first 4 years of his life in an orphanage before being adopted by a German family. He too worked as a model and breakdancer. They decided to start a band together. They were noticed by Frank, and I could not figure out how Frank noticed these two handsome young men, but he did.
I have the background on this.
Oh, all right.
As I understand it, they arrived at Frank's offices asking for jobs, essentially saying, hey, you should see us dance, and we'd also like to do singing. And he was like, interesting, because I have a bunch of music recorded by guys who don't want to dance and seemingly hate singing despite having made an album. Come with me, boys.
Sounds right, because he signed them without letting them have any access to legal advice or understanding their contracts. According to a 1990 Washington Post interview with Frank, Rob and Fab were paid 3 million Deutschmarks, about $2.1 million. So good deal for them, right?
It's interesting because I got a very different set of numbers when you talk to Fab.
Oh, that sounds right.
Because the numbers I got from Fab were somewhere in the range of an advance of $6,000.
As soon as they signed this contract, they took a little trip to Turkey, and they stole the name Milli Vanilli from a local ad. They spent a lot of the advance on clothing and hair extensions, which kind of traps them in this contract because they don't have enough money to pay it back.
Yeah, and that makes way more sense. There's no way you can spend $2 million in Turkey on clothing and hair.
Well, you'd be surprised, Garrett. You can blow through $2 million in Turkey like that.
There's easily ways to spend $2 million in Turkey. You and I both know that. I am saying just simply on clothing and hair.
Whenever they get back from Turkey, Fab and Rob Rob were informed that they weren't going to be singing on the album at all. They were really going to be just the public faces for Charles Shaw, Brad Howell, and friend of the show, John J. Devil Davis.
No, different John Davis.
I'm sorry, you're telling me that there are two people, both named John Davis, out there making music that is bad enough to be featured on this show. Two distinct J. Devils.
No, but
we cannot tell J. Devil from Korn about this because I know for a fact that he's a firm believer in the Highlander theory and he will decapitate this man.
I mean, it's basically the Highlander theory, but it's also kind of like the one.
I'm sorry, you're saying that Jonathan Davis of Korn is going to murder John Davis of Milli Vanilli in order to increase his strength in some sort of pan-dimensional universe with the goal of becoming the one, living out his days as king of Prison Planet?
Is that not what you were saying?
God, that's a good movie. We should really watch that movie.
Yeah, I'll watch the one.
So Frank liked the sound of Charles Shaw, Brad Howell, and J. Devil, but he did not think they would be as marketable as Fab and Rob.
At least one of them was too ugly, one of them refused to tour, and one of them couldn't dance.
Okay, so uggos, poor dancers, and just not team players.
I was going to say people that don't fundamentally understand how the music business works.
Fabrice and Robert initially were pretty pissed, but again, they didn't read that contract and they'd already spent most of the advance on the clothes and hair extensions, so they're kind of stuck.
One couldn't read it because he doesn't speak the language. The other chose not to, and this, I think, is one of the earliest signs, Tim, of a very clear trend between these two boys. One of them is in a bad situation because he made some poor choices. The other one seems to overtly do the wrong thing despite having all of the capabilities of doing the right thing.
They're a real Gary and Tim.
I agree, but which one's which? Are you Rob or Fab? Don't you dare say you're Fab.
Well, I don't remember which one is which, so...
Well, then I call Fab.
No, I like Fab better. Fabrice, man. I am more of a Fabrice, right?
Well, let's see kind of how each one of their stories ends, and then we'll assign who's who.
Oh, God damn it. I know what you're doing. Anyway, they decide to participate in this ruse until they had the money, essentially to pay back the advance, or at least that's what they say. Most of the songs, specifically the song Girl You Know It's True, was recorded, fully produced, and everything by the time that Frank even met either of these guys. But Frank told them that they would have to appear as the face of the band and lip sync to pre-recorded music, or they owed him all of that delicious clothing and hair money back. So they released their first album, All or Nothing, in 1988, and that was released exclusively in Europe. It sold about 500,000 copies. Then it was repackaged as Girl You Know It's True, and it was available for sale in 1989. So obviously, we're not going to go into exactly how well it did yet, but you can probably guess. It did win them a Grammy for Best New Artist in 1990, but this whole thing fell apart almost immediately. They are performing live in Bristol, Connecticut.
I'm curious, Tim, before you reveal, I mean, I think most people know. Did you know what had happened with these two?
I knew essentially that they got caught lip syncing. I didn't know exactly how. If you would like to tell this part, since you have watched it live just before your high school graduation.
Okay, again, I was 6 years old.
It's insulting that you insist you graduated high school at 6. That is bullshit.
I didn't. So they were on an MTV concert tour with new hit acts, and they were in Bristol, Connecticut when, while performing Girl You Know It's True, the backing tape revealed itself to be at full volume as it repeated, Girl You Know It's, Girl You Know It's, Girl You Know It's. And around the 6th or 7th Girl You Know It's, I believe it was Rob runs off the stage, and Fab continues to kind of dance and play it off, and then when he realizes Rob has not gone to fix the problem, he then runs off stage.
Let me stop you right there.
Okay.
I'm definitely Rob.
Oh yeah, you're a total Rob. Oh good, Tim's gonna fix it. Oh god, Tim has lit this place on fire and locked all of the fire exits. Yeah. How's that gonna fix anything?
Tim ran away in fear. That seems right.
This is on YouTube. You can watch this. Somebody had their, I don't even know how it had to have been a huge recording device in 1989. I guess it would have been 90.
July 89.
Oh God. So
yeah, it's instant. It's as soon as they come to the US, this all falls apart immediately.
Wow. So they released the US version in March of 1989, and by July, it's already starting to crack. What's cool is they continued. Nobody in the crowd really knew what was going on. They were just like, oh, it seems like they were having some musical problems. They finished the show. Nobody had a clue. And then, Tim, money gets in the way and people can't keep their goddamn mouth shut.
The international release had an insert that said that there were other vocalists on this that weren't just these two guys. The American versions, though, explicitly said this is just Rob and Fab. That prompted Charles Shaw, one of the actual singers, to reveal in December '89 that he was one of 3 actual vocalists on the album, and that Rob and Fab were, his words, imposters. And then Frank Farian gave him $150,000 to shut the fuck up and retract his statements. But, you know, he's already said it on television, so that's not really, that was a wasted $150,000.
Yes.
Whenever all of this broke, Frank finally admitted that these two were just the face of the operation. They were immediately dropped from Arista Records, and the album and the masters were removed from the catalog, so it is now technically out of print. The records that were still being sold now had stickers put on the cover crediting the actual singers, and Rob and Fab were then credited as visual performance, which is weird because it's an album of music. In all honesty, Garrett, this may go down in history as the worst offense ever committed by a German. I took a course on German history in college. It covered the early Germanic tribes all the way through the Weimar Republic. That's close to 3,000 years of Germanic history. So listen, I know the worst of what Germans have done. I know all of their sins, at least through 1933. And lying about who is singing, that has to be up there with the very, very worst that a German could do.
God, I have a book for you.
Oh, I like books.
Well, it's kind of a sad one, and it takes place mostly in an attic. And then I think you will, after reading this book, rank the betrayal of Milli Vanilli slightly lower on the list of German-inspired tragedies.
I can't imagine I will, but I'm willing to be wrong, and I'm willing to issue a correction if I am.
We should definitely remember to have you issue a correction at a future date.
Assuming that I'm wrong, because we don't know that yet. I have not read your attic book.
Right, I am 100% certain. And then we're going to watch a movie about a list.
In 1990, David Clayton Thomas of Blood, Sweat, and Tears fame sued Milli and also Vanilli for copyright infringement for stealing the melody of the song Spinning Wheel. But you can't really sue either of these two guys because neither of them had anything to do with the music portion. So
that's amazing. Is it for all or nothing?
I think so.
Yeah, it has to be. The writers of the music totally stole it.
They also got a class action lawsuit on behalf of all Ohioans who had purchased this album. That was settled with refunds for people who'd purchased the album or went to a concert in the US, which...
I understand the concert, but the album...
I agree completely. It doesn't really matter that the guys pictured on the front weren't singing it. That doesn't affect whether or not you liked the music. To say you no longer like this album because the song credits essentially were incorrect and the picture on the front featured models instead of the singers is silly. It's as reasonable as loving Nirvana's Nevermind until you find out that it wasn't actually performed by a naked baby. So the real Milli Vanilli released an album after that, and that consisted of the actual singers, and it was released under the title The Moment of Truth, and includes 4 songs written by friend of the show Diane Warren. Rob and Fab formed the band Rob and Fab, recording the album Rob and Fab, which they actually wrote and sang most of, but that only sold 2,000 copies.
2,000?
2,000, yes. People did not care for these guys at this point. Frank agreed to produce a new Milli Vanilli album with Rob and Fab actually singing. They recorded their comeback album Back in Attack, but Rob had a series of personal issues, including repeated suicide attempts. Then he got addicted to unspecified drugs. Then he got arrested and sentenced to 3 months in prison for assault, vandalism, and attempted robbery. And then he was sent to rehab for 6 months.
I had read there were multiple burglary/assault charges, not just the one. This is just what people are saying. You and I aren't saying it.
Well, he's not going to sue us because in 1998, he died at 32 of alcohol and prescription pill overdose in Frankfurt. And that final Milli Vanilli album has yet to be released.
They were all geared up. I suspect this was some sort of agreement come to by lawyers. We signed this contract thinking in good faith we were going to be a musical act, and then you pulled the old switcheroo because I don't speak your language and this guy's a complete idiot. So you owe us an album, fuckface.
Yeah, I'm
And he's
totally
like, fine.
Rob, Garrett.
You're a straight up Rob. Milli Vanilli.
Ooh, I like it. Fab has had a slightly better go of it. He released a solo album in 2003. Now he DJs for the Heineken Experience Center in Amsterdam.
Did you do any research on modern day Fab?
In 2015, Fab is working on an album with John J. Devil Davis, one of the original Milli Vanilli singers, called Face Meets Voice. So we can hopefully look forward to that in the near future.
So that takes us up to modern day, right? Girl, you know it's true. Tim and I have been listening to it for a week straight. What are your thoughts, Tim?
This is so goddamn stupid and meaningless. A lot of these songs, maybe all of these songs, are about nothing. They remind me of Chris Gaines songs in a way. I hear a lot of Michael Jackson and ABBA and Bat Dance snippets throughout all these songs.
Wow, Tim, your ear has really matured through the course of this show for garbage. Look at me. I'm a proud papa today.
Okay,
you pulled out
please
the
stop
ABBA,
calling yourself my papa.
You've ruined it. You've made it weird. It's an expression.
The word is daddy.
Ugh, it is never going to be.
Yep.
Fun side note, Tim. I don't know if you have been monitoring the Facebook's got a couple daddy updates. People are trying it out. And we got an interesting one. Someone's going to give it a go, but they said that they are gay, which is great. I said, go for it. We need a wider set of demographics. We don't want just heterosexual people. Tim, that's research I can do myself. I need people to get out there
Sure.
with diversified partners and sexual relationships and try to ruin them through the use of the word daddy.
Right, and it doesn't even have to be with a male involved. If you are in a lesbian relationship, feel free to call your partner daddy.
You can call it a girlfriend, Tim.
Oh, wife even.
Yeah, you go with wife too.
Yep.
This is America.
What'd you think about this album, Garrett?
Pretty great.
Oh, God damn it.
I loved it. I loved it as a kid. This is another one of those albums that after I completely wore out on cassette, I then would record singles off the radio and I would use them to create my own radio programs and commercials in between the songs.
Okay, you're a weird little boy.
Is it that weird? Did you never do that?
I didn't. We've had several listeners that did.
I would record commercials and then I would do bumpers into those commercials. Just like, all right, that was Bobby McFerrin's Don't Worry, Be Happy. Quick word from Sunkissed and then we'll be back with an all new single. And then I would cut to the Sunkissed commercial.
You were such a lonely boy.
Yes. Sometimes I
Goddamn crazy person. Did your version have a bunch of skits on these songs?
Yes. I don't know that I would characterize any of them as skits.
They're bad skits.
I call them intros. But sure, we'll get into it. Okay, so seriously, it's odd for us because it is a style of music from a time that I remember, but I don't have a sense for them as an adult. And you have no real frame of reference except for, I'm guessing you're drawing on Prince a little bit. All better versions of what you're experiencing here.
Yeah, I watched a good portion of Tim Burton's 1989 Batman that I have references for.
I mean, that's not a bad place to start. I also love that soundtrack. Actually, that one I think had two. There was the score and then there was the music inspired by the film Batman.
It's a great movie, but it's not what we're here to do. It's weird that they start so many songs off with the word girl and say it that many times.
It's perfect for me. It's exactly what I want. Girl. And it was weirdly popular in the late 80s and early 90s. You even would find a lot of the funk influence that is found here in rap.
Oh, sure,
this is really where rap's trying to figure out what the fuck it is. And it knows it isn't this, but this is still super popular.
Yeah, it's kind of this. Parts of it are
It's
this.
a little this. It hasn't pulled fully away from this. But then there's a German twist.
It's clear that whoever wrote these songs did not speak English as a first language. The genre for this was listed as New Jack Swing.
Oh yeah, that fits.
It's a genre characterized by typical music instruments of drum machine, synthesizer, and sampler.
That's what we got here.
Merriam-Webster's online dictionary defines New Jack Swing as pop music usually performed by black musicians that combines elements of traditional jazz, electronica, smooth jazz, funk, rap, and rhythm and blues. While we're on the subject, that's Merriam-Webster. When you need to define a word, turn to the trusted name Merriam-Webster. Now, in its third online edition, Merriam-Webster would like to remind listeners that the Oxford English Dictionary is elitist bullshit. Merriam-Webster is the people's dictionary.
Tim, how much were you paid for that?
What do you mean? I'm just a dictionary aficionado. aficionado and against elitist bullshit.
Some of that might be true, the dictionary bit, I think. But, I mean, that sounded a lot like a read. It was one of your better reads, to be frank.
Well, thank you. Nope. Almost got me.
I'm going to get that money. I'm going to get that money, and then I'm going to beat you with a bar of soap for lying to me.
Okay.
Seems like it's your goal sometimes. All right, Tim, it's a weird one, and I think we're only going to peel the onion further by getting into these songs. Track number 1, Girl, You Know It's True.
I listened to this without having done any of the history. I had no idea that they were from Germany. So, because this song starts off with a skit with confusing accents.
Yes.
It was instantly demoralizing. After our ICP and Korfeld episodes, the idea of this starting off with a skit almost broke me immediately.
It was not easy, but I wrote a little bit of the opening dialogue. It reminded me of a very specific style of delivery. I'm talking, of course, Tim, about Jean-Claude Van Damme. In the opening, a sexy woman asks what this gentleman is doing back in town, and from the best that I can tell, Jean-Claude Van Damme answers, "Well, I sat back and I thought about the things we used to do. It really meant a lot to me. You mean a lot to me." What?
I really mean that much to you?
I wish I knew the rest.
Girl, you know it's true.
Girl, you know it's true.
It's not how anyone would say this. I don't care what language you speak. The lyrics in this song are so incredibly generic. I'm in love with you, girl, 'cause you're on my mind. You're the one I think about most every time. Short little PSA here. Women don't like whenever you say almost every time in that scenario.
I'm glad you picked up on the weird generic way that the entire song is sung, Tim, and that got me thinking, what's going on here? Because this album is thin on detail. That requires you and me to do the heavy lifting, the hard work to develop the narrative, to pull out the thick and dirty details. Beginning with this one, first I thought it might be a gentleman trying to perform a cold reading on a woman. You know, some sort of traveler. Perhaps we're dealing with an Irish gypsy situation, a swindler, if you will. But
that's
then,
the Irish.
Well, not all of us. The more I thought about it, though, the more I think we might be dealing with a gentleman who has full-blown amnesia and has returned to his hometown, and while everyone there remembers him, he does not remember them.
And he's just trying to play it off as if he does.
Exactly.
I like it.
I pulled some quotes. The song goes, "To make you all mine is my desire, 'cause you contain a quality that I admire." Very generic.
Yeah.
"And when you crack a smile in everything you do, don't you understand, girl? This love is true." Assuming that this woman, who's been waiting for this man to come home to her, as long as she has a quality, which presumably she does, and a face with a hole in it, he's going to pull it off.
There's other lines in here. Your soft, silky hand, long, sweet, and thin. I don't know if he's ever seen hands before.
If I'm trying to pay a woman a compliment, I'm not beginning with her hands.
Well, you could also start with the candlelight complexion upon her skin.
I had a hard time with that as well. Is this supposed to be indicative of a specific racial complexion? Or is it that she perhaps has a glow to her?
I'm not sure.
I think it's utter nonsense. Did you notice that he seems to not quite remember this girl's name, never really says it, just kind of refers to her in the third person? I think he's kind of saying all these things to get her to maybe say it for him. Like all of these compliments are like, you know, you make me think of all of these things, you know, when I hear the name. No, all right, that's cool. Beautiful. I did this, Tim. Have I ever told you the story about the young lady's bat mitzvah?
No.
We were slow dancing, me and the young lady of the day, at a country club I would later work at, demoralizing. And I was like, boy, you know, your name is very unique. How do you spell it? And she replied, K-I-M. I was like, oh, no, your last name, stupid. And luckily, it was Garoon. So...
Kim Garoon. Strangely, this samples Bobby Brown and Public Enemy.
I did not hear the Public Enemy.
And I have a super awesome Snopple brand fun fact actually relevant to the song we are talking about, unlike Garrett's less awesome, less fun facts. Milli Vanilli was featured in a cameo performing this song in an episode of NBC's The Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3. The episode aired in 1990 after the lip-syncing scandal broke out. The episode was edited to replace the Milli Vanilli songs featured with generic pop instrumentals.
That was a very weird show.
Of course you've seen it.
The show was really just a cartoon where they would try to air at least 2 different stories about, well, the Mario characters. In between, there were these weird little live-action interstitials with a grown man and his grown man friend playing Mario and Luigi. And they would have like a little B-plot going on.
Oh, what a great idea.
Okay, it wasn't great.
Track number 2, Baby, Don't Forget My Number.
Unlike the last song, Tim, I don't love this one.
And you're right not to. The lyrics in this sound like they were translated from German to English by an 80s version of Google Translate.
Yes, there are very, very confusing segments of this song.
I see it so clear, that our love, it's so strong, and you never go wrong. The chorus includes the lines, don't forget my number. Baby, love is stronger than thunder.
True.
And it is. That is a fact. A scientific fact. Science has demonstrated that between the two, love and thunder, love is in fact the stronger of the two.
How in the world do you quantify love?
Very delicate measuring instruments. There's a whole scale for both of these, and that scale you can convert pretty easily. I mean, back at the time, I guess it was probably there's a series of tables and conversions, but now it's just computers, but you can convert very, very easily between love and thunder in terms of strength.
Now, when we say thunder, I was talking about the traditional noise that one would hear accompanying a thunderstorm.
I was as well.
You did not mean penis.
No, Garrett, I'm not Troil.
Okay. This is the song that reminded me of ABBA.
I agree completely.
Did you pinpoint which song?
No.
I narrowed it down. I believe it to be Take a Chance on Me.
Yes. Yep.
If you change your mind, if I'm in... I don't know the words to ABBA. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fair. This song, though, does have a drum sample from Soul Searcher's 1974 song Ashley's Roach Clip, which is an instrumental.
Yeah, I listened to that.
Yes. Did you notice what else that was in? Because it is a very popular sample.
It sounded so familiar.
I can tell you heard it in the Milli Vanilli song, Girl, You Know It's True. You also heard it in this Milli Vanilli song, All or Nothing.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And you also heard it in the Girl, You Know It's True remix. 40% of the songs on this album contain this sample.
That's awesome.
Pretty widely used sample. It's nowhere near as common as Amen Brother or Funky Drummer.
Well,
Tupac, DMX, Lil Wayne, Lol, Vanilla Ice, Run DMC, Public Enemy, Ice Cube. But notably, none of those artists have used the sample in 4 songs on the same album. Because,
only a crazy person would do that. Or a German.
No one will notice.
It's techno. It's all kind of the same song. Haven't you noticed this? Just move your hips. Yeah. You like this? They're going to wear bike shorts. Did I tell you? You see this? They're going to wear the wigs and sport coats and bike shorts, and they're going to sing, baby. Okay, I'm leaving Farian. He just creeps his way out of every complicated conversation.
This contract looks like maybe I'm just the face of this. I'm not actually a musician. I wanted to be a musician, Frank.
Of course. You're going to be a musician. First, you got to understand what it is like to stand on the stage and be center of focus. I don't want you to have to think about the singing. So you get up there, you move your beautiful mouth, you put on the bike shorts. And we'll have the other guys sing it on tape.
You keep mentioning bike shorts. What if styles change to where bike shorts aren't popular anymore?
No, you will set the style and then always with the bike shorts.
Yeah, I noticed you've placed your hands on my hips.
Yeah, I'm testing your strength for when you need to sing.
This doesn't have anything to do with bike shorts now. This is more of a performance issue.
I've got some in the back and a few boxes, and I was just checking your size. You have very powerful size.
All right. You know what? I'll sign the contract. I want to be out of your office.
Okie dokie. You sign that, and I will find the key.
Why was this popular?
Because it was sweet, Tim. It was super sweet.
It's bad, Garrett. It's not good.
Well, what can I say? You're not culturally diverse enough to enjoy it?
That's inaccurate. I love all sorts of German music, Garrett. From polka to there's this guy that just
polka. No, you know what, Tim? No wonder I liked this music. There's more than one song, but specifically the first one that sounds vaguely reminiscent of German pop superstar Falco. Rock me Amadeus, rock me Amadeus.
Yeah, that's not inaccurate.
I was a big fan of Amadeus. The point being is that German Europop sound was all the rage, and then to have rap, hip-hop, funk, jazz, slow jazz, all intertwined, this thing was ready to fly off the shelves. R&B was in a very transformative phase, and this walked the line between a cross-cultural album that could be entertained by people that enjoyed all of those other genres, and then also the broader pop music audience, which is why I suspect it probably made a shit ton of money before everything came crashing down. As I mentioned in the first song, or possibly the album, could be about a gentleman who has wandered into a town in which everyone knows him, but yet he does not know himself and does not remember them. I want to try to tie in this song, potentially. This could be about him searching for his memories. And then when he looks in her eyes, he can tell that they are in love, even though he can't really remember her. And so he's begging her like, hey, don't lose my number, because I have been known to forget my entire life. She's obviously super pumped because she thought he was gone for good. I'm thinking, Tim, this could be an imposter. He could actually be the guy returning.
Is it possible that all of these people knew Rob and he has left, but Fab wandered into town, and they've got a similar look that they're cultivating, certainly?
When they're wearing the wigs, for sure. Or extensions.
Well, yes, they are extensions. Expensive extensions.
But then he would also have to have amnesia.
Well, no, he wants to bang this girl, so he's pretending to be the other guy. What?
Oh, see, I'm not saying the other guy's... I'm saying that he may be not necessarily the guy that everyone thinks he is, but I'm saying he has amnesia and he's not maliciously doing it. He's like, oh, maybe I am. How could everyone know me if I wasn't?
No, this is all at Frank's direction. He said, go into that town.
Taking the low road, huh?
Yeah, of course, Garrett. That's...
God, you know what this music reminded me of? You've seen Toys, right? Robin Williams' Toys?
Yes.
One of the worst movies ever made.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. There's a weird alligator pit or something.
It's a sea monster. It's a mechanical sea monster. Anyway, not the point. Do you remember there's an entire music video that plays?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what this reminded me of.
Ugh.
Track number 3, More Than You'll Ever Know.
Did you figure out what the opening music is from? It sounds very familiar. It kind of sounds like the Batman song. I want to call it Party Man, but...
It's Party People.
You say that.
Yeah, and what do you mean I say that? I'm going to find out.
Party Man.
Party Man?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. I apologize. It's called Party Man.
Unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. I guess the whole fucking song is Party Man.
Oh, God damn it. You fucking cunt. We also have a skit on the beginning of this for some reason. Hey, you know, Rob, I got something to tell you. Tell me, my brother, while you were gone, your woman, my woman what? Your woman stepping out on you. I gotta talk with this girl right now.
Girl, rumor has it you're leaving. Tell me that isn't so.
It's not even talk singing, it's just talking.
Yeah.
With accents, I guess that's different.
Yeah, this music is really bad.
I also really dislike the way they break the fourth wall and reference that they are in fact singing a song.
Yeah, that always bothers you.
And girl, I write my passion in a song. Hope my melody is appealing. Words that I say can change your mind. I need to have you here to make the lyrics rhyme.
I wrote this song for you, is what he's saying, in order for her to not leave him. This brings me back to the beginning, Tim. Stepping out on. Is this slang for going out with other gentlemen, or is it slang for straight up banging other dudes?
I don't know. Probably.
Because one, if she decides to go on a date with another person, okay, we can maybe get past that. But if she's banging other guys, why is he writing a song to get her back?
Perhaps he's some sort of incel cuck? Is that possible?
Oh, totally. Did you see those bike shorts?
Yeah. Let's not dwell on that, though.
We get a keyboard solo in here, but it's not a keyboard solo because the keyboard is set on the horn setting, so it's kind of a horn solo, but it's not.
Yes.
These synths are never set to electric keyboard. It is all moans and strings and harps and horns.
Yeah.
And you better get used to it.
I got used to it pretty quick. It only took me 3-4 listens.
Did you ever find yourself dancing?
Well, yes, but I try to give every album we do at least one dance listen. A lot of times, the music, it's not really for the listening, it's for the dancing. So I don't want to be unfair. You know, this is not an album for you to sit and contemplate. This isn't early Dylan. This is something for you to get up and move around. And if that's the case, I want to give it a fair dance listen.
How do you dance to Evanescence?
It's a lot of like doing the face waterfall over your own face. With both hands, you alternate hands over your face. Garrett, look
confused.
at me. Look at me.
What? No,
like this,
don't.
Like this.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
God.
And you kind of
Tim,
sway from side to side.
Okay, the face waterfall does not typically run down the neck and then chest. Please stop.
But I'm so sweaty from all the Evanescence dancing, so I kind of have to wipe the sweat away.
Tim, I just saw the world's first body waterfall. I didn't like it. If anyone's confused, we are, of course, talking about the hit film Face Off and the very bizarre choice by John Travolta to run his grown, meaty paw over various members of his family in a sign of affection, running downward, dragging the fingers across your eyes, nose, and lips, and looking longingly into your eyes.
And if you ever meet Garrett, just know that he loves to be greeted in such a manner. So feel free to run your hand from his forehead over his eyes, his nose, his lips. You gotta linger on the lips and then off of his chin.
I will straight up break your hand.
Track number 4, Blame It on the Rain. My first impression of this song is that it is the rare song where being an asshole in a relationship is actually frowned upon.
Well, I think you did a lot of reading into this because while I am definitely interested in hearing how you got there, I was left with a lot of questions as to what in the world this was about. Before we dig into the content, I don't know why this opens with the sound of wind and sirens.
You know why, Garrett. Germany. The reason that I got there, should have told her you were sorry, could have said you were wrong, but you couldn't do that. You had to prove you were strong. If you hadn't been so blinded, she might still be there with you.
Completely understand, not hard to follow. He is lamenting his pride and how he lost her because he wasn't willing to admit he was wrong. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's my first impression.
That is what I thought at first as well. Continue, I apologize.
Okay, and then I thought maybe the singer is telling this to someone else, which makes it kind of shitty.
Could be a good friend, though. Maybe needs to bounce some ideas off and figure out where they're in the wrong.
Yeah, but to me it comes off as very manipulative. They are advising someone to apologize and say you're wrong to appease a lady or a man, whether or not you mean it, just to get her back.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I don't disagree.
Okay. And I know you don't because you actually, I'm not sure we brought this up on the show, but in 2007, you actually wrote a relationship guide. And I've got an excerpt here to read for us.
Did you buy that off Amazon or what?
I did. Yeah. Actually, I think you probably got $3 or $4 off of this.
Oh, yeah. The margins are pretty nice. Continue.
Yeah. If I may read from the Garrett Harvey Relationship Guide, this is the second edition, first printing from pages 3,101 to 3,102.
And I will point out, Tim, that is an out-of-date edition. I just want to say that.
Okay, that's fair. I'm not saying you still believe this. I'm saying in 2007, you believed this.
Well over a decade ago. Continue.
Right. And again, what we're talking about here is manipulating somebody essentially by just telling them what they want to hear. What Garrett has written here, it does not matter who is at fault. For you, there is no fault. It simply does not exist. Your relationship and your interactions are a game, nothing more, and your objective is to win. Say what you have to say, knowing that while your words have a specific meaning to her, they are just noises you make to gain control. And then later you've written, pride and guilt are abstractions society puts on you. If you can rid yourself of these completely, you will be your own God. Now, boy. So again, I don't know that you still believe that. All I'm saying is that 2007 Garrett, I think you could get behind this song.
Yeah, absolutely.
Out of curiosity, do you still stand behind that? Is that in the updated edition?
I will say that those corners have been rounded.
Okay, so to avoid... Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I want to put forth a couple more thoughts about what they're truly saying here, because the song says, blame it on the rain that was falling. Blame it on the stars that shine at night. Whatever you do, don't put the blame on you. So is this song actually saying, if you have to blame someone, just blame, I don't know, the stars and the rain. It's not your fault, though. You didn't do anything wrong. She left because of the stars.
We know one person is not at fault here, and that is you. Literally, celestial beings could be at fault, and we should blame them before we blame you.
But earlier, we both came to the conclusion that he was saying he was too proud and it was clearly his fault.
Yes.
We don't know what happened.
I think he might have read your book. Did the first edition might have come out in 87, for all we know.
No, I'd been 5. So
I mean, 17,
4.
but sure.
I'd been 4. Hate you. Anyway, as we've been charting the possible story going on here about a gentleman who is either an amnesiac or potentially, as you put forward, a grifter, who has returned to a town that believes him to be one person, and he may or may not be that person, or as you pointed out, a grifter
who got hair extensions to look more like the person he is replacing.
I choose to believe at this point that the most likely scenario is that this is an amnesiac. We don't know whether or not it's actually the person. And what he's saying is he often finds himself feeling to blame for his trauma, that he can't remember his past. Maybe he got in a car accident and it was raining that night, or perhaps
he was blinded by the stars.
Right. The stars were so bright that, that happens, right?
Yeah.
The star blindness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like an AA kind of thing where believe in a higher power. It doesn't have to be God. It can be just anything.
That'd be kind of neat. If you had to believe in a higher power, but you didn't want to get into anything traditional, what if you worshipped the rain?
Oh, I like that.
That's kind of nice. You don't meet a lot of people who worship the rain. Maybe we should start a little test religion.
We should, but I think we should make the focus more on the two of us. Maybe just you and I can not be involved.
No, now I feel like you're trying to back out.
I would like to not be involved.
I need you to be the legitimate face of the operation. You're going to organize everything. You'll
High
be
priest.
Yeah, totally.
No,
priest.
Okay.
And like CFO.
Oh, God, no. I know how that ends.
And you're going to own all the property technically. Nope. Yes, you are, Tim.
No, I'm not. I've been to jail for you twice, and I'm not going to make it a third time.
Third time, you get a mustache comb.
Garrett, the third strike law is still technically on the books. I could go away for life.
Or get that sweet mustache comb.
I can't grow a mustache.
With your prison tickets.
This one also kind of gave me a Chris Gaines feel. I might be swayed because I feel like the title is similar to Doesn't Matter to the Sun.
Here's the difference, though, Tim. When this came out, this was popular. This was a popular style of music.
Right.
Unlike when Garth Brooks did it.
Chris Gaines.
Okay.
This also samples My Prerogative by Bobby Brown.
Way better song.
But it's not the first song on this album to do that either. I believe that was in Girl, You Know It's True.
Of course it was. These are all the same song. It's just like 3 samples.
Well, you did mention your belief that this is the same song as Girl, You Know It's True.
Girl, you know it's true. Blame it on the rain. They're essentially the same song. And I just blurted that out when you suggested that we do this album. Yeah. Because I love both of those songs. Still do.
Yeah, you can't believe that, Garrett. Track number 5, Take It As It Comes.
I think this is an actual stitching together of 2 completely different songs that they felt sounded close enough that they could intersperse the lyrics and no one would notice.
I disagree because I think that the first part of it forms a weird connection with the second part, but I'd love to hear.
It's possible. I've gone to the liberty of pulling out similar lyrics and separating them, and then you can kind of get a better picture of what each individual song was before they got smashed together. So the first one I would say is kind of the woman making her way in the big world montage. I give you the lyrics. Take it on the run, girl. The world's at your command. Keep your motor running. You know you own this town. So then there's the second part. And this song is obviously about a gentleman hitting on a rather vulnerable woman shortly after a breakup.
I would argue actually slightly before the breakup, but yes.
Kind of wedging himself in there, being the crowbar to open up that last little bit of space.
Oh, thank you for not saying vagina.
You did, though. You see how that's as bad, right?
No.
The song goes, I know it's a difficult thing. When the one you love makes you cry, let me be the one, girl. I'll help you over him. Going back to my overarching plot of the album, Tim, I think that maybe she has admitted to this gentleman she knows he really is not her long-lost love. And he's saying, well, maybe I can help you get over this guy who left you. I look exactly like him, apparently, so much so that everyone in this town seems to think I'm him. This could have been the whole ploy. I don't know if you had anything in your mind as to why this gentleman had come to this town as the other person. Again, I'm working from the amnesia angle, and he's like, hey, what better way to get over this person that you lost than to date someone that looks physically identical?
That does help, I will say that. Perhaps one of them died tragically, and the other one, knowing that they looked identical, decided I can just move in. The dead guy's lady doesn't even know that he's dead yet.
I think that we are getting dangerously close to the plot of the Jim Carrey film The Majestic.
Haven't seen it.
It's not great, but it is very close to what we're now describing. Although you seem to be taking more of a...
Mine's more of a Tom Ripley-ing.
Yeah, fabulous Mr. Ripley situation. So perhaps you're saying that this imposter is maybe a guy who, how do I put this, beat a man to death with a boat oar and then dumped him in the Mediterranean?
Yeah, and then rich people are seeing him on a ship, and they're all saying hi, but he didn't know who they are.
Oh, they're on a ship now.
Well, he's got to get from place to place. He's got a
so he's
whole
on some
Mediterranean
sort of European cruise.
Well, no, he's maybe going from one place in the Mediterranean. Maybe he was in Italy and he wants to go to Istanbul. I mean, how are you going to get there? You get on a fucking ship, sail the Mediterranean.
Like a goddamn gentleman. I hear what you're saying.
Track number 6. It's your thing.
What the fuck, man? In a move that is just so bombastic, we give you a cover of the Isley Brothers song that literally no one was asking for.
Oh, yeah.
This is padding, right?
Given that it is a cover from a much better band, I don't really have much to say about this song other than they made it worse.
The music is played not as well, and they threw in some short raps, I think.
I wrote down some of the lyrics, and then I was just like, well, now I'm just talking about an Isley Brothers song.
A perfectly fine Isley Brothers song.
Sure.
Track number 7, Dreams to Remember.
We get 13 unique lines in here, but it's a 4-minute song. Usually we wonder, how did they stretch 13 lines into 4 minutes? And finally, this week we have an answer. There is a lot of sexy saxophone going on in this song, and that is why 13 lines turned into 4 minutes.
It's some of the sexiest sax this show has had to suffer. It is...
Okay. I don't like your bit.
I love it. It's so sexy. It's, in the words of our producer, septuagenarian and Italian immigrant extraordinaire Gino Papadopoulos, it's a very good song. He's over there. Look at him. Look at he's smiling right now. Look at that mustache.
He's adorable.
Connects right to the sideburns. He's adorable. I asked him not to come in today. He had gallbladder surgery just 2 days ago. Absolutely insisted. Took 2 buses. I got to come to work. I said, Gino, we'll pay you. You don't have to be here. In fact,
well, he didn't understand that, though. It's not his way.
His English is terrible. I mean, in fact, if you want to have a meaningful conversation with Gino, it better be sanitation oriented. He's spent 94% of his entire career as a janitor. But as you folks remember, we were very short on staff for quite a while. We lost Brad to college, and Tim sent almost the remainder of our entire staff over to interview the Dutch. And then turns out Chinese shipping crates take quite a while. They're cheap and they'll get from A to B, but you better not be in a hurry. So in that time, we had to promote from within. Gino, we promoted. He's of a retirement age. We've offered him a full pension, but he won't go. So we're going to tolerate him until we find a suitable replacement. I mean, it's a mess. We barely got last week's episode out on time. Anyway.
I hate the talk singing in this song.
Oh, man. It is a hesitant karaoke singer. Like they almost want to sing, but they're just like, no, I'm not going to sing in front of everyone, so I'm going to kind of talk my way through it.
Yeah, and the things they talk their way through.
Quite frankly, if this song is not exactly about the scenario I put forward where an amnesiac returns to a town to find out everyone there knows him, this doesn't make any sense. The song goes, lost and found, these memories I keep. I've got dreams to remember. He's literally trying to remember his past in his dream. Okay, I'm going to read some lines, Tim, and first, forget my amnesia thing and try to make any sense of this. Yesterday calls like some enchanted star. I reach up to grab, but it's no easy mark. Sweet and low. I land back on my feet. Romeo will have your soul to keep.
Perhaps Millie is returning back to town to reclaim the love of his life, unaware that Vanilli has Tom Ripley'd his way into her bed.
So you're saying he did not die in that sea?
It's possible. He's severely disfigured because of that O-ring he took. But
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're going to float around in a briny mix for a couple of days.
well, sure. She'll still love you, maybe.
She'll be driven into his arms by the sheer fact that she has been, well, it's not clear if she has, consummated the relationship with this imposter. I don't think she has.
Okay.
But she'll still be driven towards the other one if he is able to prove that he is the original. Boy, we didn't give him a name.
Millie, the other option
no,
here.
I like that.
Okay.
No, Millie was replaced by Vanilli. I'm still not quite ready to abandon the idea that it was done accidentally. But yes.
So Millie has been beaten in a rowboat by Vanilli, right?
I wish you'd smile less when you said that.
Now, Vanilli goes to Millie's old town, and he's living it up. He has taken his place, and he's met new people, right? People that Millie didn't even know in this town. Now,
Right.
whenever Millie comes back to town, they really shouldn't have made this rhyme. Millie comes back to town, and now he is the outsider because there are people here that know Vanilli as Millie. So they're coming up and saying, hey, Millie, how are you doing? And he's, hey, you.
Yeah, it's a double. You basically get 2 movies for the price of 1. And then maybe, Tim, you cap it all off like a classic Armin Tamzarian situation, a.k.a. Principal Skinner.
Yep.
Everybody likes this new Millie way more than original Millie. They tie original Millie to the front of a train and send him off to Shelbyville.
Or perhaps beat him with oars in a boat. Leave him for dead.
Well, he has proven himself to be somewhat oar-proof.
Yeah, do a better job.
Yeah, I guess if you get a few folks together, maybe probably get the job done. One more thing. This one's real weird. Occasionally, from time to time, our listeners may remember Kevin, cousin of Brad. He still works here on the show. He is still at the janitor level. We actually had to create a level below the janitor level for Kevin. It's called the Kevin level. So he just graduated from Kevin level, but he...
Can we call it the Kevlev?
Yeah. Guess so. Anyway, doesn't matter. Hopefully he's not going to go backwards again, although this might be enough grounds. God, I hope you don't demote him when you hear this. So he heard me listening to this. He was polishing the leaves on my ficus tree in my office, and he was like, God, I love this song. And he was just humming along and saying the words. He knew every word to this song, and I asked him how he knew it. And God damn it, Tim, I always forget those two are the weirdest. He said that he and Brad would sing it before they took the panther juice at camp and met the Snake King.
I'm sorry, what?
He said that he and Brad at summer camp would sing this song in full before they would take the panther juice and meet the Snake King.
I have no follow-up questions.
That all makes sense to you?
Nope, but I don't want to know anymore. Jesus Christ. Can keep your panther juice and Snake Kings.
I didn't inquire further either.
Yeah.
Tim, we got to make a concerted effort. We got to reach out to Brad. I thought we would hear from him before the spring semester started up. I'm a little worried.
Hopefully he will send us another letter. Or ideally come by. He's got his closet. I mean, he'll have to sleep on top of Kevin, but...
Yeah, I'm sure they're used to that.
Track number 8, All or Nothing. A lot of prominent woodblock being played in this. Did you notice that? Really bothered me.
Woodblock, marimba. This is the one that to me sounded like Blood, Sweat, and Tears spinning wheel.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure that's what he was referencing in that lawsuit. Now, remind me, in Spinning Wheel, did they have lyrics such as, if it's good for me, it's good for you. You gotta never let your mood get dry. Just keep it wet in my 740 jet. Now...
Push it up, push it down. Push it where it feels real good. On my lips, my sweet bumblebee. Sting me like I knew you could. It is the language of someone that... Is there somewhere between consent and not consent? Because I feel like this guy's trying to shoot for that.
He wants it to be consensual, but kind of feel non-consensual.
There it is.
Ugh.
That's exactly right. It's about banging, right?
Yeah. All or nothing. Push. It's gotta be. Something's gotta show when you're lying under me. Let it be. Take it from the pro who's rocking to the beat. Yeah, that's banging. The banging I know about, anyway.
Here's a curious line. He sings, you gotta go and let your backbone slide. George Michael or Marvin Gaye. It still is the same in you.
Yeah, I think what he's saying is it doesn't really matter what rhythm is present, I guess.
I thought he might be saying, it doesn't matter what your sexual preference is as long as you're getting something in you. Perhaps this gentleman was hip to the fact that George Michael was a homosexual years before it was public knowledge, rather than the heterosexual scoundrel Marvin Gaye, who's a bit of a ladies' man, whereas George Michael was a bit of a man's man.
Yeah. You've
Both
described yourself as a man's man, but I think you mean something different, right?
Yes, more of a traditional sense, less of a pay toilet sexual congress situation.
Yeah, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If that is your thing.
It's illegal. There's one thing wrong with it. It is illegal.
It shouldn't be.
What?
It shouldn't be. What? If
you want to go use a public bathroom that somebody just got done banging somebody in.
I don't. I'm just saying if everyone is consenting. For example, if two gentlemen would like to make love with each other in a public restroom, that should be okay. They're both consenting. Now, let's say I would like to, let's not use me as an example. Now, let's say a third gentleman would like to go into a public restroom and watch two men make love. Everyone's consenting. That should be okay. Now, let's say...
That's not what that's for, though.
What do you mean?
What do you mean, what do I mean? That restroom's for restrooming.
Well, yeah, okay. Here's the thing. Who is able to make love with the stench of public restroom feces? Nobody. So it's not a problem.
Correct. Well, no, that's not true. Public rest stops along our nation's highways are renowned for being hotbeds for homosexual, promiscuous activities.
Really?
All the night long. Oh, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
That is news to me.
Yeah, you go to a truck stop and you just kind of hang out.
Like any of them.
Oh, almost universally, yes.
Gotcha.
I wish you'd stop writing all this down.
I mean, I want to make sure I don't forget. It seems like something that it could lead to trouble if I were to forget this information.
Right. Okay, so this is all about how he likes to fuck.
Yes.
And how he would like her to have sex with him.
Yes.
It is specifically how her body should move upon his body.
Yes, or under.
Where she is relative to him is less important than the fact that he is inside her.
Okay.
According to the song, he discusses what's inside her, Tim. I don't.
Well, I mean, we have been. But yeah, I agree. Like a certain 2007 Garrett, he is mostly interested with getting what he wants.
Interesting. In the context of the broader narrative of this album, I think that maybe this is a story of the imposter finally having sex with the woman he has been deceiving. And to me, Tim, I don't know about you, when I listen to this song, I don't think it goes well at all.
Well, I think this is whenever she figures out that it's a different person because their fuck styles are different.
Yeah,
he is more buck wild. Previous guy was more of a mellow yellow, I think you call it.
Some sort of missionary Mandy.
Yeah. All right, I think we got this one figured out.
Track number 9, Girl, I'm Gonna Miss You.
Now, I'm assuming in your overarching story, this is whenever she has figured it out. Milli has come home. Now, he's bleeding heavily from the head. And Vanilli says, okay, you caught me. Girl, I'm going to miss you.
The head wound is confusing, but yes, the rest of it, yes.
Okay.
What about the head wound now?
Oh, he was beaten in a rowboat.
Oh, right. Yes, the horrible disfigurement from the rowboat beatings. I watched a delightful performance of this song starring the remaining half, Milli, on a Dutch show called Koffietijd, which
what country did this air in?
It was a Dutch show.
Oh, God damn it. All right, go ahead.
So, Koffietijd, which means roughly lunch hour, is two older ladies who sit in what the set looks like somebody's actual home. And there is Milli doing a performance of this song. And I gotta say, Tim, it's pretty good. But the reason you should look it up, and let me spell it for everyone. The show is spelled Koffietijd.
Koffietijd, yes.
Yes.
It's like Zeit in German. It doesn't matter.
Right. The point being is when you watch it, one of the hosts is super into it. She knows every word and sings along to the whole thing.
I like it.
It's bizarre.
Do you think that the reason he is good at singing isn't that he was always good at singing? It's that in 1990 he said, well, at some points, if I make this claim that he fucked us and we should have just been the singers the whole time, somebody's going to demand that we actually sing. And so just practiced for years and years on his singing.
I think that definitely happened. I also believe that he was always the more talented of the duo.
Okay.
He was certainly the more disciplined, we can agree there, except you should never sign a contract, specifically one written in German, without having somebody who speaks that language read it to you.
Yes.
And to be frank, you should get a second person to make sure that person doesn't lie to you, because some Germans are liars. There's some heavy Kenny G style saxophone in here. Did we mention that?
Oh, yeah. More sexy saxophone.
I mean, this is some serious softcore pornography style saxophone, and that was the hallmark of a very young adolescent Garrett's life.
Jesus, I understand why you like this album. It was all of the erections.
Well, no, not at the time. I was
but as you grew into a young man, you listened to this and you, what do they call it now? Triggered? You were triggered?
The sounds of Milli Vanilli gave me erections? No. The saxophone, the smooth saxophone that often accompanies softcore pornography is practically this. No, it didn't. It was just there during erections. So now when I hear it, I get erections.
We all knew.
I think that you hit the nail on the head after that terrible sexual performance. You know, Vanilli's out.
Well,
Millie's
he wasn't
back.
bad. He was just different.
Fair enough. Do we need to talk about the last one?
No, the last song is a slightly extended mix of Girl, You Know It's True, and I Don't Care, and I don't want to talk about this any further.
All right, Tim. How did this thing do?
This sold all of the copies, Garrett. Over 6 million copies in the US and over 1 million in Canada. So it's sextuple platinum in the US and one tuple diamond in Canada.
Nobody says one tuple.
I say it. It was a #1 album in both the US and Canada. It spent 7 weeks at #1 on the Billboard charts, 41 weeks in the top 10, 78 weeks on the Billboard charts in total. So people were still buying this.
Oh, yeah.
Internationally, they have sold somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 million singles. It's unclear how many people got refunds, though. So this could be a 0th seller.
I don't think the refunds were issued outside of America.
And you kept your copy, or your sister's copy.
Yeah, of course I did. I'm shocked, Tim. I feel like you might have left off some international listings.
Well, I couldn't because this version was literally only sold in North America.
Oh.
The other version was in Europe, and we didn't review that album, so I didn't look that up.
It is a shame that we did go with a domestic-only album because outside of the United States, you know who absolutely loves Milli Vanilli?
I'm assuming the Dutch, the Swedes, the Swiss.
The album which this is based upon that was released in Europe went to #1 on the Dutch mega charts.
Oh, what is this? Album number 55 or so? We've had a single other instance of a #1.
Which one was that? Do you remember?
Backstreet Boys, I think.
I think you're right. Yeah, that and the European, essentially the European version of this, #1 on the Dutch mega charts.
Wow.
I thought you were going to go ape shit on the Dutch mega charts this week. Such restraint. Fair enough.
I love it though. Now, forever, when you yell at me for looking it up, I know that secretly you are interested because you looked it up and you brought it up. And I know that you hate me, so you wouldn't have done that just because it pleases me so much.
I try to prepare myself for your bullshit. What did people think of this album?
Well, critics did not care for this.
Really?
Yep, pretty universally derided. Apparently, critics are, if nothing else, better than 6-year-old Garrett at determining what garbage music is. We do
sounds
have
right.
a single critic that I would like to bring out. This is Robert Christgau, who gave us a review. So we'll do the Christgau game. I will read the review, and Garrett will guess what letter grade Robert Christgau gave it, which seems simple, but Robert Christgau is a crazy person whose review may or may not have anything to do with the album, and it may or may not relate to the actual grade that he's given.
Let's do it.
All right. Frank Farian's great Eurodisco experiment, Boney M, didn't go over stateside for the simple reason that it was too Euro. His Euro rap is hipper, sexier, even a teensy bit soulful. In short, indistinguishable from the highest quality Amerischlock, give or take some snazzy sound effects. The title cut is the best cut. The remix of the title cut is the second best cut. Garrett, what did Robert Christgau give this album?
I gotta go C-.
So close, Garrett. C. He gave it a C.
Wow. Still, I feel pretty good about that. I was in the ballpark.
Yep. On Amazon, there are 125 125 reviews, 4.5 out of 5 stars, 71% 5-star, 3% 1-star. Let me read a couple reviews here. The first one is by MDC. It's called The Era of Milli Vanilli from 2006. This is one of the best albums ever. It doesn't matter who sang it. The shame of it all is that these two absolutely drop-dead gorgeous guys were cornered into doing this with lip-syncing alone. Who did sing it? The music is fantastic. It also represents a great era, the 80s, that will never be repeated or the same. My best friend and I were lucky enough to party with these two beautiful creatures one night when they were in Dallas, and they were so kind and humble and stunning to look at. If you don't know the real story, look it up and see what really happened. Every artist at one time or another lip syncs. Just two beautiful guys inside and out, caught in a very bad management/business decision deal. I will forever love their music. D in Dallas. 5 stars.
Tim, are you D in Dallas?
I am not.
Okay.
I've gone by that name, but I did not write that review.
Have you partied with Milli and/or Vanilli ever?
Possibly with Vanilli, never with Milli. I think he was dead long before I made it to this country.
Oh, I had them confused. I thought Milli lived. I thought Vanilli was Rob.
I don't know. Who knows? Who cares?
Any other reviews?
Sure. This is by Christine called What Else? Girl, you know it's true. Written in 2003. I wore out my 1989 original cassette copy last year and have been looking for another one ever since. I finally broke down and bought this CD. Flashback. My best friend and I each had a copy of the tape, would simultaneously start our Walkmans and pedal our happy selves down to the beach with big smiles, singing all the way. Those memories and this music still make me smile and get up and dance. There is no other. So girl, you know it's true. You gotta keep it wet in your 740 jet. Milli Vanilli forever.
I mean, I basically had the exact same story.
Without a friend.
Well, replace beach with where water collects, where two streets intersect, like a rain gutter.
Yeah.
Sort of deal. Mm-hmm. And friend with frogs and or worms. And that's, basically the same situation. Only I didn't have the hassle of trying to sync up a Walkman with some stranger.
No, they were friends, Garrett. She had another person that she had formed a connection with and also liked this music. You
know the expression, like friends are just strangers that have lied to you.
Oh, God. What? Did your father tell that to you?
Well, no, I mean, not in those words, but he taught it to me.
That does make sense. This sounds also like more advice from that relationship book.
That's a different book on making friends and building a network. Only 2 chapters are dedicated to orgasms.
I mean, they're business orgasms, so it's not weird or nothing.
Yeah, it's not weird. Right.
I have one more quick review. This is by Channel called Buyers Be Aware from 2006.
What?
I sent Amazon.com 2 different checks at 2 different times to purchase this CD and a DVD from one of these so-called sellers. I contacted Amazon a long time ago and was told that they didn't know anything about this. Recently, that they told me that one of the sellers did something illegal, so I will not be getting my items. I was told that since I sent checks, I will not be getting any refunds from Amazon.com. Poor super old lady.
You can't pay for things with a check on Amazon, right?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, this lady clearly found out you can't. I mean, think about how old this person is that she is trying to send the internet checks, right? So she's 85 plus.
CD drive.
70 to 80.
She gotta be older than 70.
She's 75 and she loves Milli Vanilli.
Wow, that is weird, right? Maybe she loves ABBA.
Oh, could be. She got them confused.
And Bobby Brown. It's my prerogative. Great reviews, Tim. Don't know why they all came out like 18 years after the music. But whatever. So I have to ask, who's this for?
Clearly, it's for a young Garrett and his frog companion. 80s pop and R&B fans. It's for fans of fraud. It's for suckers. It's for cucks. I mean...
Suck cucks? Cocksuckers? Cocksuckers.
Garrett, no, I have a problem with this. If the cucks got sucked, they wouldn't be cucks any longer.
No. They're not getting sucked. They're sucking.
Okay.
They are not people that suck cucks. They are cucks whom suck. Like a soul sucker or a sorrow sucker.
Ooh, you know what? Back in... Hashtag cucksuckers.
Oh, please don't.
Yep, that's how Instagram will know us from now on.
Gross. I don't know if you've seen in our Instagram, there's a few, not just Instagram, a few different areas where people have begun embracing the sucker moniker, calling listeners of the show suckers in a positive way. They're trying to take it back. It's fascinating.
Them. Yeah. We have some real fucking crazy people that listen to this.
Okay, Tim, that brings us to final thoughts. We've gone all the way through it. Do you like it more?
No. No, I don't. It's one of these that's a fascinating story, and I really enjoyed doing this and doing the research on this. Everything except for the actual music was fascinating. The music I did not care for.
It's no Corey Feldman.
Obviously, that's the bottom, but I mean, there's several rungs of hate above that. We can't just say that.
I agree. Let's try to be a little objective here before we go for the final vote. All of the songs are music.
There is music, yes.
A lot of the lyrics don't make any sense.
Yep.
It's not bad singing when it is singing.
And I will say, with the voices, it was enjoyable to try and figure out which European country they were from.
Yes, I don't disagree with anything you're saying. It's not good, even regardless of the scandal. Let's pretend that these two sang it, and this is just us reviewing an album that came out in 1989. The music is very hard to relate to now. It seems so simplistic too, right?
Yes, simplistic both in terms of music and the songs are super generic.
I think we are dancing around the most important part of the show, so let's take it home. Tim, do you hate this?
I don't think so.
That's the right thing to say.
It's not for me. Why? I don't like it. Part of it is it's impossible for me to put myself back into the time in which this was released. So it seems far more bizarre to me now, and that's maybe not fair. I might have liked it if I had grown up with this like you did. From 18 to 46 now, you have loved this album and listened to it on a nearly daily basis.
None of that's true.
Just getting it at 33, like I am, it's shocking, it's bizarre, but I just can't hate it. But Garrett, the big question, do you hate this album?
Now that we've been through it and we've looked at the lyrics, I think I have to say I do not hate it. Liked it coming in. I completely agree with all of the listed flaws. It's not good. It's weird, but it's got a strong nostalgic tie for me. I would not listen to the full album end to end. That is asking a lot. But every year, if I hear either Girl You Know It's True once a year from now until the day I die, I'll be happy.
No more. What you're saying is you would like to hear it once a year, or you would like to
At
not
least.
hear it more than once a year?
Probably no more than 5 times a year.
Okay. So you'd like to hear this 1 to 5 times a year?
Yes.
I will make that happen.
You do not need to.
I can't imagine radio stations are playing this.
Well, I can't imagine you're listening to radio stations.
All right,
Okay,
we're done.
Tim, you don't hate it. I don't hate it. We both love it.
Neither of us got there today. We're unfulfilled.
I feel like I was playing goalie the whole day. I try to remain objective in the song by song, but I wanted to keep you in that like zone, love zone maybe.
I'm going to strike you with an oar on a boat.
I felt a lot of times when you were saying that earlier, you meant me.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to
No
strike
one would ever
you.
mistake you for me, though.
I'm not going to pretend to be you afterward. I'm just going to savagely beat you on a boat with an oar.
To what end?
The savage beating, Garrett.
Tim, you would agree that your face is somewhat devoid of personal characteristics, right?
Yes. I don't know why we're talking about this. It's unrelated.
It's not. Is there any truth to the rumor that you had that done cosmetically so that it would be easier for you to adapt to new physical characteristics should you want to impersonate somebody that you've befriended over a long con? You can be honest here, because I'm not saying this to you. People are saying it. It's being said, so I want to give you the opportunity to address it. Is that true?
No.
Okay. Did you just lie?
No.
Okay. After the show, may I look just behind your ears?
All right. Well, thank you very much for listening to the show. It is always a pleasure. Please reach out, like, rate, review us on all of our various social media platforms, on iTunes. Do rate and review. It helps us out a lot. It gets us to the further up the charts so more people notice and will listen. You can reach us at hatePod on Instagram, album hatePod on Twitter, hatePodMail at gmail.com, or you can go to our website, hatepod.com, and go to the upper left-hand corner where there's a Contact Us link. Feel free to send us all of your stories if you have any funny things that have happened to you while listening to these albums, or stories about why you hate these albums or why you love these albums. If you'd like to slander Garrett, if you would like to write a message specifically to Tim, please address it as Dear Tim, and to a lesser extent, Garrett.
I don't like those.
Am I leaving anything out?
No, Do you plan to impersonate me?
For Why I Hate This Album, I have been one of your hosts, Tim Richardson.
And I have been the other Garrett Harvey.
The riffs are too repetitive, the lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides and the cover art's a mess. There's so much here to tear apart. Listen to it for a week, now that week has passed. It's Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Garrett.